Hello everyone, this is Jimmy and welcome to episode 14 of Celestial Journey. Today I want to start by finishing up a project from yesterday, and that is our King of the Scorchers farm. So if you recall, we have this thing where by spawning a King of the Scorchers, a grinder, or a mob crusher rather, will automatically kill it and harvest its drops and yada yada yada. So I made some improvements to the system from yesterday. For one, I've added a experience vacuum, dumping its contents into a experience obelisk, which is really just a practically infinite tank for only liquid EXP. As for the essence that's generated by the crusher, I'm storing that in a large tank for now. Um, we'll put this to use later. So far, I've been spawning mobs with the Ender Isle spawner, which you can. Oh dear, why are there so many items floating around? Are you full? Oh no, you're just picking them up. Okay, never mind. Anyways, I've been spawning mobs with the Ender Isle spawner, but that spawner is difficult to reconfigure. You know, to change mobs, I need to get a broken spawner and reconfigure that, yada yada yada. I'm thinking we might want to swap over to using more of these. What are they called? Duplicators? Yeah, mob duplicators from Industrial Foregoing. Not only is the recipe marginally easier because it only uses a single offensio as opposed to the powered spawner using two and these, reasonably complicated Dark Solarium thrusters, they're also very easy to change out what you're spawning. You just have to change out the Pokeball inside. But those spawners use liquid essence or alternatively liquid EXP, which let me double check, but I hope liquid EXP can be turned into liquid essence. Yeah, it can. Okay, so that's why we need a renewable source of either XP, essence, or both before we can begin uh, using industrial foregoing spawners. And I think this farm will be an excellent source of both. So we have to now fully automate the process of crafting Infernal Flames. I can request them from the AE system, but there's a few. I don't. For one, I don't want to use the user crafting card, and for two, I don't have Blaze Powder automated yet. I just have a significant amount of it in store. As for the Redstone ore, I moved our quarry back to the overworld and set up a Silk Touch quarry, so that's producing our Redstone ore. We have a few thousand. It's not infinite this way. Eventually the quarry runs out, and then we'll have to move it. But eventually, I guess we can build a industrial foregoing laser drill. And will you stop shooting me? I even put a sound muffler here because I got sick of their shooting sounds, but they still shoot me through it. Anyways, so we're going to need to set up a system that will fully automate the crafting of these from, raw inputs. So raw input, I guess, will be wood for the sticks, blaze rods for that, redstone ore, and purple blazes. And then we need a way to automatically click them here. But, if you recall from our plant farm, using a autonomous activator with an ender porcupine seems like a very reasonable and easy way of doing that. So, enough talking, let's build. So, the RF Tools Crafter is a perfect tool to do a bunch of crafting jobs in one block. For some reason, I got possessed to... Oops, one more. Anyways, for some reason, I got possessed to grind down blaze rods with grinding balls. Honestly, I can't tell you why I thought that was a good idea. It's not like I lack blaze rods, and I just made the system a lot more complex for no good reason. But alas, it reduces the number of blaze rods we use. Basically, when we use this grinding ball, we get like 7 blaze dust per blaze rod on average. Anyways, all the final materials end up gathered here. I'm producing the grinding balls on site as well to avoid, once again, using the crafting card. So now that we make these infernal flames, we just have to pipe them into a mechanical user and have them click on an ender porcupine. You can kind of see it there on the upper right, the block that the ender porcupine is bound to. It's just basically any block in the interior of the shield generator will work. And then just I have to configure a redstone pulse to summon a thing. Timer set to 80 ticks, so once per 4 seconds. And once you enable the timer by not giving a redstone signal, it'll spawn a King of the Scorchers every 4 seconds. And that should be plenty of time to not overload our shield generator and let our mob crusher do its thing. Awesome. So now that'll be a consistent source of both, what is this, essence and EXP. And we can see we can get a lot of EXP very quickly. Now, all the components that go into here are just, let's see, everything except the redstone, I think, is fully renewable, right? Comes from like a mob farm or a tree farm. And really, that's just like purple blaze from a mob farm, blaze rods from a mob farm, wood from a tree farm. So, yeah, this is a just short of fully renewable source of essence. The fact that we get, these like blue fire stones and fury fires, I think is almost secondary. As orange hearts are decent, orange hearts heal you 10 hearts a bite, as opposed to the red hearts, which heal you 5 hearts a bite. Cool. So now that we have this out of the way, I'm actually not going to use it for a little bit. I'll just leave it here running. In fact, let me make sure it is chunk loaded. Yeah, the chunk loading ward here loads 3x3, so, 1 chunk in each direction. Anyways, as this is done, let's go actually start Botania now. So in addition to the Lexica Botania, which is Botania's documentation book, the first thing we have to make is the Petal Apothecary. This is gated behind a bunch of various things from Blood Magic, but we did it last episode. Let's craft it. Now, let's first I'll start by, I guess, show you how you normally use this, and then we can work to automate it. So normally, you take the Petal Apothecary, you fill it with water with a bucket, and let's pick a flower to make. I think the Pure Daisy seems like pure is a good start. So that's 4 white petals in there. I guess I should also automate my petal production at some point, huh? We'll get around to that. Anyways, you can either... Oops, looks like you can't right-click. Where did I right-click it? There we go. You have to throw it in. So you drop the items in without your magnet stealing them. And then you take a vanilla seeds, and you can either... No, it has to be dropped in as well. And you get your flower. So with that in mind, let's come up with a way to fully automate the production of flowers. There's a couple ways you can fill the Petal Apothecary. The most simple one is just to right-click it with a water bucket. But you can do cute things like if you throw a water bucket on it, it'll empty the bucket. You can, I think you can use dispensers or something, but let's not get cute and let's just use a mechanical user. Now you can't just keep clicking. Well, you can't do that either because that just floods your base. Let's see. So we definitely do not want it on generic click. I think we want to use item on block. No, activate block with item. There we go. We want on this mode. But if you just, let this happen without withdrawing the bucket, you'll see what happens, right? It'll, after the bucket fills the Petal Apothecary, it'll empty it. So we then have to extract the bucket and refill it. Not that that's a particularly difficult challenge. So that's done with a fluid tank, which can automatically fill buckets, providing the water, infinite water spring from an endervor, and a selective filter here that only withdraws empty buckets. So if we empty this for whatever reason, let's say we make another flower. So we drop in our petals and the seed, then it'll place, whoopsies. Looks like I need our conduit to be a little bit quicker than that. Whatever, it's fine. I think if let's see. I'll deal with it later. Either way, you see that it'll refill the Petal Apothecary and put a new water bucket here. Clicking a full water bucket on the Petal Apothecary is okay. It doesn't do anything, which is why I'm not concerned. To fix the issue with it, filling and taking the thing out again before the bucket gets extracted, I take advantage of the fact that a Petal Apothecary emits a comparator signal it may even actually just be a straight redstone signal. Nope, it's a comparator signal. When the tank has water in it. So I have it configured that I take the signal, put it through a NOT gate, put it back through a repeater into the user, and as soon as it empties, for whatever reason, it puts a new bucket of water in. Now, next we have to automate the process of dropping whatever materials in, as well as dropping a seed in at the end. And I think doing that is quite simple. As far as I can tell, it doesn't matter what order you drop things in. Even if you drop the seed first, it'll just sit there waiting for the petals. And then after the petals show up, it'll craft. So all we have to do is hook up if we want to do these on demand, hook up an interface with recipes in it. The recipes should say we want to make pure daisies. That's not the recipe for pure daisies. It should include the 4 petals as well as a seed. And then we can just drop them in whatever order and it'll produce our pure daisy. This last step ended up being considerably more complex than I initially thought. I forgot that I can't just take our pattern, put it in the interface, dump the items into this chest directly, and dump them all directly into the petal apothecary, because even on blocking mode, that would dump items too fast. We have to do them in sets, right? This is something that has to be handled, in quanta. So the way I set this up is that our interface is on blocking mode. It'll push one set of items to this chest. When this chest has items, it will every 4 seconds tick our builder, which is in swap mode, which will swap this chest with that chest, and that will drop all the items onto the petal apothecary, which will, if you have the recipe right, craft a flower. And then 4 seconds later, if there are more items, well, immediately if there are more items, the items will get put into the chest. 4 seconds later, the builder will swap it. So let's demonstrate instead of just talking about it. I put the recipe for an endoflame in there, so let's start by building 1. We'll need plenty of these. So you see the items go in here, comparator turns on, this is configured in not gate mode, and in the time I spent talking, it finished crafting. Now just to pick up the items at the end, we'll need some type of vacuum chest that's whitelisted for all the flowers we craft. But let's actually craft a handful more. Let's craft, 20. I don't have enough petals. Let's craft 2. We'll automate petals in just 1 second. So, start. We should see items come into here, 1 set of items. They get dropped, the item gets crafted. 4 seconds later, it does another one. That 4-second time is to make sure there's enough time for all the items to be dropped. And in fact, even with 4 seconds, I put some upgrades in here just to be sure. If we have to end up doing, super complicated recipes where 4 seconds isn't enough to pull the items, I can upgrade the upgrades from these, the basic upgrades, like basically more speed upgrades solve that problem, or more time, one or the other. So the trick here is really that the builder in swap mode with a space chamber can swap. It'll swap the region behind the builder with what's in the space chamber, and if it's a 1x1, it'll just swap those 2 items directly. There's a couple, or those 2 blocks. There's a couple other things in the game that can do this type of swapping, like the what's it called, like the teleposer or something like that. The teleposer from Blood Magic. But that has, oh boy, that's one hell of a recipe. And we need like this block as, whoa boy, that's a recipe. The beauty of stuff like this is that I can move those Thaumcraft nodes. Although this can also move Thaumcraft nodes. But nonetheless, the ability to do this atomic swap of 2 blocks is very key to a lot of automation. For those of you that are, have computer science backgrounds like me, right? You understand atomic operations are how you keep things properly serialized. So, that said, this is our flower crafter, and once we add, I guess, the vacuum hopper to it, it'll be done. Now, as you just saw earlier, we ran out of petals, so let's make an automatic petal crafter. So my preferred way of making a bunch of flowers is through floral fertilizer. That takes either yellow and red dyes or any 4 Botania flowers. I find it easier to do this one. So we just need a bunch of yellow and red dye. Easiest way to make these, I find, is dye essence. We can also just beetroot makes red dye. We can, there's a billion ways to do it. You can sagmo berries, flowers, but dye essence. It's a tier 2 seed, so we can make all tier 1s and many tier 2s. Plant it, we'll turn on our thingamajigger here, and let it do its thing. Neat. All right. So for the time being, though, I'll set up the contraption that uses those uses the floral fertilizer while we grow our seeds. Those of you that have watched my Project Ozone series are probably familiar with this contraption. It's two sets of pistons that just push a small block of dirt back and forth. We fill the mechanical user here with floral fertilizer. We turn the pistons on, and basically when the dirt gets pushed or when the grass gets pushed, all the plants on it pop off. And we don't even have to push it this often. Let's have that delay. And the plants that get crushed also popped off. So what happens is this will automatically plant the flowers using floral fertilizer and then push them off, and then they'll automatically be collected by that chest, put into this drawer, and our flowers are now automated. Now some of the flowers do go flying, so one thing we can do instead of using this is just manually do this. In fact, we need relatively few flowers, so it's totally fine to just do it manually, collect them, and we'll be on our way. But yeah, this is... I really hate this ender hopper. It's so much worse than the item collector that we had in whatchamacallit, in Project Ozone. Like, it's so slow and it misses things. Range is awful and not configurable. I should stick to using more like the item, what's it called? Vacuum hopper? Vacuum chest? The vacuum chest from Ender.io is so much better than this stupid ender hopper. Alright, anyways, lesson learned. But yeah, this will automate the production of flowers. You know, I'm gonna go replace that vacuum chest now, because I hate that ender hopper. Anyways, for those of you that are curious how this works, the timer set to 80 ticks for now is generating a redstone pulse. I'm sending a short pulse, or a less delayed pulse to one side than the other. So it push, one side pushes first, and then the other side pushes after. And that way we just shake this one piece of grass back and forth. Well, I ran out of pattern slots on our first assembler tree, so I have to build another one. Womp womp. Now that we have plenty of flowers, let's see if we can order, I don't know, 40 endo flames? Looks good to me. So they should start dropping pretty soon. The beauty of automation. And I added I don't want to get too close so my magnet doesn't mess it up, but I added a vacuum chest here that automatically picks up the endo flames and sends them back into the ME system to complete the craft. Cool. So now that we can auto-craft these flowers, I guess there's one more thing we need to do before we start making mana, and that's the automation of the Pure Daisy. So the Pure Daisy, its main purpose is to transform blocks into their Botania form, namely stone into living rock and wood into living wood. It can do a few other things, but I'm not terribly interested in these functions, I don't think, unless there's... Oh, okay. Later we have to do elven wood into dream wood? Is there anything we need elven wood for specifically? Because I know we can trade for dream wood, right? We can just trade living wood for dream wood. I don't know if there's anything that requires elven logs. If there is, we'll have to transform that too. But at a glance, it doesn't look like there is. I guess it's just like a building block. The Pure Daisy is kind of like an in-world crafting mechanic. So we have to place the block to be transformed in the 8 blocks around the daisy. Like so. After placing the block, we have to wait a minute, and then they will be transformed into their, Botania variants. So once again, there's a couple ways to do it. Because it takes exactly 1 minute, we can use a timer, and then, place the blocks, and a minute later, use some type of block breaker to pick them up. That works fine until your server starts lagging. Then sometimes the timer and the daisy get a little desynced, and yada yada yada. My preferred way is to use formation planes to place the blocks and annihilation planes to pick up the result. And using annihilation planes, you can kind of filter what gets picked up by, only having room for certain items. Let me demonstrate. As a proof of concept, I built a micro net here It's just an energy acceptor, an annihilation plane, and a storage bus on a locked drawer. So right now, the dark oak wood is not being picked up by the annihilation plane because it has nowhere to go. The drawer is locked. However, if I set the locked drawer to dark oak wood, we'll observe that the annihilation plane will be able to pick up the wood. There we go. And it stores it in here. We had 15, now there's 16, right? Cool. However, if we put another block in front of that, say stone bricks, it'll never pick up the stone bricks because it has nowhere to go. So we can do something similar with, you know what, let's unlock this drawer, whoopsies, unlock the drawer, take those out, and grab some living wood. If we lock this drawer on living wood, whoopsies, if we lock this drawer on living wood, now it will never pick up dark oak wood, right? But if we grab a pure daisy and set it here, in 1 minute, this piece of dark oak wood will turn into living wood, which can be picked up by the annihilation plane. So using this concept, we can build a system that will automatically place living wood using formation planes and automatically pick up, or rather automatically place dark oak wood using formation planes and automatically pick up the living wood using annihilation planes. Alright, so this little subnet uses quite a few channels, so I gave it its own controller. But on the top layer, we have just formation planes, placing dark oak wood and stone. Hidden underneath are annihilation planes. And then those selectively are only able to pick up the items that fit in the drawer because that's the only storage on this subnet. You can even partition this to be absolutely sure about that. And that'll put the final results into these drawers. So we can, let's clean up after ourselves a little bit here. We don't need any of this anymore. And in fact, you can see as soon as it completes, the products get placed in here and new stone and wood gets placed down. The raw ingredients are provided by this interface, and energy is provided through this quartz fiber. So because this interface never touches this subnet, the two are, two distinct networks. And yeah, all that's left is to hook a storage bus on our main net somewhere on this drawer controller. So let's do that. Oh, last storage bus. We have to be careful not to mix the networks here too. So let's see. I'll just run cabling right along here, and I'm also one piece of cable short. But yeah, I just craft here. Oh, the beauty of auto crafting. All right. So now when we check our ME system, in fact, let's also empty the 2 items in here over to here. So anyways, when we check our ME system, we should see 24 living rock and 37 living wood. There we go. So now we have automation of living rock and living wood done. Again, if we have to do elven wood or any of the other pure daisy recipes, we can just, extend this a little bit further and do it in another block. So now that we have our endoflames, we can start generating mana. However, before we can really use it, we need to be able to move mana as well. And to do that, we need mana spreaders. So mana spreaders, however, have a slightly modified recipe. They take this projectile base, which takes Eden arrows and vitriol, as well as large bloodstone tiles. But Eden arrows require us to make a trip to Eden to kill mobs. So, or mine Eden ore, I guess, by the looks of it. So let's get to Eden. I don't know which of the... Ooh, we may have completed a few quests too. But none of these quests seem to have rewards. That's a shame. Anyways, Eden would probably be here in exploration. Okay, so the Eden is the next. Yeah, it's basically the first Divine RPG dimension. I think the IKEA one that we went to earlier, it's not part of like the progression chain. So we have to make divine rocks. Looks like we have to kill the Ancient Entity, Watcher, or the Horde. I think the Ancient Entity is the easiest of those 3. So let's spawn the Watcher and see how difficult he is. Ooh, he's a big boy. Or that's the Ancient Entity. But he doesn't really do anything, does he? This is a real tough fight, guys. I'm really glad Divine RPG adds these very difficult bosses that really add a lot to the gameplay. I'm not actually complaining. I don't know. I don't find combat particularly interesting in Minecraft, so I don't mind being able to mostly skip over it. Anyways, that only dropped 3 divine shards, and we need a lot more than 3. Unfortunately, I don't have the materials, whoopsies, to make another one of those. So I guess let's do the end one next. Let's see. Of those 3, I think I can craft the most of the Horde Horn. All right, 10 of these ought to be more than sufficient, right? And let's head over to the end. You know what? Let's actually, before we do this, let's just make a grinder or a crusher to kill them more easily. I'm here at where the quarry used to be in the end. It's pretty funny seeing these islands turn to dirt because when the quarry runs, it turns all the mine blocks into dirt. But anyways, let's place down our mob crusher. Sure, you can face that way. Give it some power. Build a little trap thingy for the mob just so it doesn't run away from us. Alright, I don't have my wireless access over here. Do I have my builder's wand on me? I usually put it in my bag just for this reason, but oh, it's in my inventory. Alright, perfect. And looks like that's all my blocks. That should be fine. Put range upgrade in here. Oh, now it's even killing random things it runs into. Alright, let's hope the horde fits in here. Is it doing anything? I don't understand what's happening. The horde appears to be multiple enemies. For something called a horde, that makes a lot of sense. This is going to end up being more difficult than I envisioned. It's also extremely loud. Alright, this isn't going as planned. Will you guys fly in range of my mob grinder, please? Thank you. Keep it up. Yeah, fly right here. Fly over here. Come on, you can do it. Give me your shards. They give a lot of EXP. Alright, well, I was hoping to get divine shards, and unless the last guy is the one that drops it, I haven't gotten any yet. Hello. You can come over whenever you like. Thanks for dying, sucker. Alright, did I get divine shards? It does not appear that way. Well, that wasn't fruitful. It says the horde, someone from the horde horn in the end. I'm very disappointed. Very, very disappointed. Well, I have enough molten shards to make 1 Call of the Watcher, so we're gonna go try that out. Doubt he's gonna drop enough shards, but I mean, give it a shot, right? To make my life somewhat easier, I'll try killing it in the automation we have for whatever this other boss is. It's the same idea. He gets contained in the chamber and then killed by the grinder. And he does drop divine shards, thankfully. I should find a spot for this here. But 8 or 4 is not enough. We need, let's see, 4 plus 9, so 13 times 2. So we're going to need a few more Call of the Watchers. And to craft this, we need more molten stone. So I'm going to make a farm, I guess, for either hell spiders or wildfires. But looking at the time, I think that'll be a project for tomorrow. One thing I want to mention real quick too, look at how much EXP we have stored in our experience obelisk. Since we set this up, we already have 1,000 levels banked. That's 87 million millibuckets, I think. That's actually like 3% of the experience obelisk's total limit. I don't think I've ever filled an experience obelisk yet. And at the rate we're going, we'll fill it in, I don't know, a day or two. Pretty impressive. That's really owing to how much EXP these Divine RPG bosses drop. But yeah. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this episode, and we'll come back tomorrow and do more mob farming, I guess. Take care, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye bye.